Creatine is not just for men. As a matter of fact, the science shows that it's better for women. The benefits for women include mental health, cognition, mood, and bone health.
For years, you've heard it's a bro science muscle builder. In this video, we're going to show you that it's a lot more than that. We dive into the latest literature to separate facts from hype about how creatine can help women. Welcome to Doctors Rating Trends. This is a show where two IV-trained doctors dissect the latest buzz so you can decide what's hype and what's help. My job is to find all of the real evidence backing up each medical trend.
And I'll stress test the claims. In the end, we'll help you figure out what's real and what's just an expensive gimmick.
Creatine is like having an extra tank of gas for your engine. So how does your engine work? Your body runs on a molecule called ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate. That means that there's an adenosine molecule with 3 phosphates attached. The body creates energy by breaking one of those phosphates off. The remaining molecule goes back and has a phosphate reattached in your mitochondria. Creatine provides an extra phosphate, so the molecule doesn't have to go back to the mitochondria to pick one up. Creatine is basically an extra battery hanging around. Because it's a backup source, it's most effective in moments of high energy demand. So when you're under stress, thinking hard, or exercising.
Women, on average, start with 20 to 40% lower creatine stores due to small muscle mass and less dietary meat intake. So theoretically, the upside of taking it is greater for them.
Supplementation raises the creatine levels for both the muscle and the brain. It's why resistance to fatigue, cognitive function, and even mood can improve, especially under stress when you're taking creatine. There are 2 myths that can discourage women from taking creatine. The biggest of which is that women fear they're going to be putting on water weight. That's true that with creatine, you will put on 2 to 6 pounds of weight, but this is water that's being pulled into the muscle cells. Shortly after stopping creatine, the weight will go away. As you'll see later in this video, creatine is more likely to help women lose weight in the long run.
The second myth is regarding the kidneys. Meta-analysis of long-term data shows no renal harm in healthy adults using 3 to 5 grams daily. Creatine is one of the safest supplements ever studied. Exceptions do exist, though, like pre-existing kidney disease, or in rare cases like chronic bipolar, where high doses of creatine may trigger mania. But for healthy women, the safety data is rock solid.
There are exciting developments for the use of creatine in women for mental health. The brain burns about 20% of your body's energy at rest. Depression has been linked to a loss of energy in the brain. Creatine's role as an energy booster has been studied to counter this effect. In women, the scientific literature is quite compelling. A 2012 randomized controlled trial for depression added 5 grams a day of creatine with an antidepressant. Patients improved twice as fast, and remission rates doubled after 2 months. More recently, another study confirmed this finding.
The effect isn't universal. In treatment-resistant depression, creatine alone didn't outperform placebo, and most trials are small and short. It's not a standalone antidepressant. That said, the effects are pretty compelling.
Creatine might actually make you smarter. In tasks requiring working memory and processing speed, creatine constantly improves performance under stress. Situations like sleep deprivation, hypoxia, and intense mental load. Meta-analysis shows better short-term memory and reasoning, especially in vegetarians and in women.
Those effects largely vanish in well-rested, high meat intake individuals. So it is a conditional benefit, which is pronounced only when baseline creatine is low or energy demand is extreme. It would be great for sleep-deprived medical students, for instance, which I'd wish I'd known about 20 years ago. But it wouldn't do so much for someone who's doing a Sudoku puzzle on a beach in Maui after eating a poke bowl.
Let's talk about creatine and female hormones. Estrogen influences creatine metabolism. When estrogen drops, like for instance in parts of the menstrual cycle, during perimenopause, or during menopause, cellular energy efficiency declines. Supplementation can counteract that dip. An analysis in 2024 found higher dietary creatine intake was linked with fewer irregular cycles and pelvic disorders among women.
But that's correlational data and not necessarily causation. Other factors may have affected this group, like protein intake, activity, or socioeconomic status. We lack randomized controlled trials directly linking creatine to hormonal regulation or fertility outcomes.
True, still mechanistically, estrogen creatine interactions are well documented. The hypothesis that creatine mitigates energy drops during low estrogen phases is biologically sound, and we just need better clinical trials. Creatine may help with osteoporosis in women. There's a study that showed in postmenopausal women that a combination of creatine and resistance training showed preserved bone density in the femur, while the control group lost 4% of their bone density in the same 12-month period. That's a clinically relevant gap and critical for women that are at risk of breaking their hips later in life.
However, in sedentary women, creatine alone had no benefit after 2 years. Without exercise, it's inert. So we should frame it correctly. Creatine amplifies training stimulus, it doesn't replace it.
Creatine has a long history of being studied for sports performance in men, but it may be even better for women. A study in 1997 showed women gained greater muscle creatine and 20 to 25% higher training-induced strength. Another study in 2008 showed female volleyball players improved bench press, vertical jump, and lean mass versus placebo.
The gains are modest, roughly 3 to 5% over placebo, and require consistent training. Still, for competitive or recreation athletes, that's meaningful. However, this is not an athletic substitute and will do nothing if you're not exercising. So let's talk about creatine for women. Creatine seems to be an across-the-board performance enhancer. We've been studying it in men for decades in the context of athletics, but the mechanism works for any process that requires energy, be that sports, thinking, or emotional stress. We also find that other potential applications like bone density and women's hormones showing increasing benefit. Because this is deficient in women, especially on modern diets, this should be a major area for study because they could potentially benefit the most from this. Nowadays, women are often the breadwinners of the family, which puts them under enormous stress. Yet another reason why this could potentially be helpful.
Conceptually, it makes sense that giving your body an extra tank of gas would be useful across the board. The studies coming out are very well done and support taking creatine on a daily basis. For most healthy women, 3 to 5 grams of daily creatine monohydrate is a low-cost, evidence-based upgrade, especially when it's paired with resistance training.
If you're like me, creatine monohydrate can be hard on the stomach. So there are other forms of creatine, like creatine hydrochloride, that might be better for daily use.
It really is a safe, effective daily supplement for a stronger body, sharper brain, and sturdier bones. The one thing I have seen is that women are scared off because of the water weight that comes with taking it. It's important to know that in the long run, it's going to lead to a leaner physique. And if you have some days on the beach coming up, you can just stop taking it and the water weight drops. So let's give a quick summary of creatine and what it can do for you. It has very powerful athletic performance enhancement, but it turns out that it can also help with hormonal health, cognition, mental health, bone health, and a variety of other things. This is really a no downside thing that most women should be taking.
Going into the downsides, they're relatively few. You can have some stomach irritation. If you do have kidney disease, then you should probably stay away from this, or at least consult with a doctor. And then if you have bipolar disorder, this can induce manic episodes, so you may want to stay away with that one.
All right, so let's go to the scoreboard. From a common sense standpoint, this makes all the sense in the world that this would work. It really is something that you get better as you take it, especially if you're under high stress situations. It is the extra tank of energy, so it makes sense that would work. The evidence is solid and building every day. So there's amazing trials for this. And one of the nice things about this substance is you don't have to worry about people trying to make money off the back end of it. So the studies tend to hold up quite well. And finally, would I do it? Absolutely. I feel like everyone should be on a standing dose of creatine, and especially women.
For me, the common sense test is it definitely checks out on that. The mechanism works really well. And the results back up what we would imagine would happen with the science. As far as evidence, there are a lot of good studies out there. Would like to see more evidence going into the women's health category, especially as it relates to mood improvement, things with depression, and in my world, osteoporosis is a big deal with hip fractures. This could be potentially beneficial for that. Would I do it? Absolutely, I would do it, especially if I'm doing anything with high athletic demand. In my particular case, and then obviously for women, I think a standing dose for all the reasons we talked about wouldn't be a bad idea.
As usual, any decisions that you make about your health should happen with your own information and between you and your doctor. This is for entertainment purposes and giving you our best take on the literature that we've seen, but you should do your own work before taking any of this stuff. If you like this channel, hit the like button and share with all of your friends.
We'd also love to hear any comments and any ideas you may have for future videos.
See you next time.